Alrighty, hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Serving Nerve, where we talk about whatever we want, and today we are going to be going through more fat acceptance cringe compilations. So let's just get into it.
People have been making some weird resolutions this time of year about their bodies. I thought I'd just put this out there. Let's make this year the year we stay fat. Let's make this year the year we stop dieting, because it's not doing you any good. Let's make this year the year we stop changing our angles in our camera so our double chin doesn't show up. Let's make this year about fat liberation.
You know, it's really unfortunate. I hear people a lot of the time saying they've really struggled with dieting, and I have my sympathies because going through a yo-yo diet or doing anything where you feel like you're actually hurting your body more than you're helping it, going through all the toil, the struggle, dealing with the failings of a diet, it sucks. But that doesn't mean you should appeal to futility and not try a new angle. This person's talking about, not changing camera angles, but I do recommend they actually try a different angle, and that is to instead adopt healthy lifestyle changes to perpetuate natural weight loss. Any kind of weight loss can be natural, whatever. Anyways, you can't appeal to futility and go oh, I'm just gonna stay fat, I'm just gonna stay in this position. They're obviously uncomfortable with themselves. It's not good to be underconfident with your body, but at the same time, you should know when you need to make a better change for your well-being. So I really hope this person does endeavor to be healthy in spite of the not dieting thing, and I hope they're just talking about not yo-yo dieting, but we'll see. Actually, we won't, because this is the void that is the internet, and I'll probably never see this person again, but you know what I mean. Also, one more thing. Fat liberation, it's stupid. You can choose to be fat or not. You don't need to appeal to the concept of being liberated. If you're in a first world country, you're already liberated. Trust me, you're liberated from a lack of human rights already. I know that could be perceived as ignorant to say, but personally, I don't think we in the Western world have really any excuses to complain about our body weights, especially when we find ourselves too exposed to the access to food, water that's clean to drink, and the ability to use TikTok to talk about being liberated as a fat person, when in reality, we're all very liberated already. I mean, the fact that you can go online, post this video, and talk about how you're fat, that is liberating in itself. So I really hope, you don't feel like you're oppressed on the basis of your body weight, when so many people are also dealing with way worse shit than you. I get it's your experience, you're obviously not in the best headspace, but put it into perspective here, it could always be worse.
Hello there. Hello. How are you? How are you doing today? I'm fine. How about yourself? Oh man, I'm doing lovely. Here's the foot again.
That looks like some serious fluid retention, not gonna lie. I can't believe that's a foot. That's actually really horrifying. I really hope that I never end up in a position in my life where I'm so obese. I mean, I know I wouldn't end up in that position. So obese that my flesh is literally so saturated with a mixture of uncontrollable, fluid levels and obesity, fatty deposits, that I'm probably immobile. This person is probably not able to even walk. It's really sad. I mean, I get it's a filter, but again, I don't really understand what the point of this is. I don't know why we show off our bodies on camera and expect that to be, liberating, empowering, cool, awesome, a break from the system. It really doesn't do that. It just shows where you're at in your life, and it's not very far, in my opinion. Again, I hope people are actually doing things to better themselves physically, and this is just, a way of kind of, not feeling like you're in a bad state mentally all the time. But I think a lot of the time these people are just in really bad headspaces, and they're also doing things that hurt their bodies. So I hope this person's doing well, but if we're dancing around on camera, I don't think we're going to be doing anything for the bettering of ourselves. I could be wrong, though.
He said do that blue and grape Kool-Aid. Yeah.
This is weird. This is so weird. Why? It's obviously weird fetish material. This is obviously a fetish. This is obviously somebody's getting off to this. It's really weird. It's really weird. I don't understand the idea of jiggling your fat on camera and pouring water on yourself. It's a wet t-shirt contest, but without the shirt.
What y'all got next?
Ate at the fair as a fat person who doesn't care about losing weight. Started off with these Hog Daddy fries. They were so cheesy.
That right there is what we call rich fat, alright? I have gone to plenty of fairs. Never bought any of that stuff because she just dropped $75 on food.
Yeah, that's the thing I actually agree with this person about. When I see people going to the fair, I'm like, okay, it's one day in your life. You probably saved up for the endeavor. You're gonna have fun. And I don't really even judge people on the basis of being fat and going to a fair and eating whatever they want for one day. It's one day, even though it's all really, like, unhealthy stuff. I actually agree with this person. Like, there are so many times where I've gone to, like, maybe, like, a fair or, you know, a free event or something, and they make all their money off of concessions and food. And I look, and even if there's something I really want, I've never been able to put down money on it. I really can't even comprehend the idea of, like, going out and, like, buying food at these places. Most of the restaurants I go to, when I do go out to eat, are pretty cheap. And also, being a service worker in the restaurant industry, you always have a few people you know who can hook you up with free drinks. So, usually, like, I don't really spend a ton of money on eating out all the time, unless it's a really special occasion or I'm really, like, really trying to ball out. But the idea of going to a fair and, like, spending a bunch of money, it's pretty true. Like, you really are gonna blow money mainly on concession. And I actually really agree with this guy. Like, I would never blow money on it. And in some regard, the person who's buying it, if they're doing it commonly, they're going to a fair and they commonly buy a bunch of stuff, they could be spending a lot of money, and it could be like a really high price point. They could be more privileged than you.
No. I'm more of a, bucket of KFC kind of guy, just fast, easy calories.
I mean, I don't think this person's really that cringy. They're kind of being funny, and it's a little sad because you want to be eating healthily and stuff like that, but a lot of the time, people who are fat are buying, like, cheaper. I wouldn't even say KFC or like McDonald's or anything is cheap anymore. It's not like you're gonna get a meal for $1. You are gonna be like still spending like, $20-30, but it is way cheaper than going and buying concessions at a fair. Those prices are really overly saturated. But saying that, I do agree. I think a lot of people who are overweight usually go to places like KFC, McDonald's, things like that, more so than they'll go to the fair, just on the basis of simplicity, accessibility, and laziness. But I don't think it's cheaper. I think the cheapest thing you can do for yourself is not buy fast food in general. But, I don't think this guy's really even saying anything too crazy. He's kind of just, like, being funny, in a sense. But also, it's a little sad. When she rather fuck with a fat boy. Jesus Christ. Okay.
Who decides to put a fat person on the third floor in the house? Makes no fucking sense.
Who decides to put a fat person on the third floor of a fucking house? Maybe, where you choose to rent matters. I don't know. I mean, I'm on the first floor, and I'm telling you, dudes, the reason that we wanted that first floor was so that when we were taking all of our, like, furniture and stuff in, and my equipment and everything, I wouldn't have had to take it more than, like, I don't know, 20 feet away from my car. Not gonna play that game. We're not going up flights of stairs. I don't have the back for that.
Third floor in the house. Makes no fucking sense.
I found my new career. I'm going to be a backward stripper. Which means I'm going to come out with my clothes off, and you gotta pay me to put them back on. I'm going to be rich.
That sounds very Canadian. Very Canadian sounding of you. Very Canadian. Cold weather, don't worry. I'll put everything back on. We'll make it really hot in here. But that sucks. But you know what? Comically, I would say people probably would pay you to put your clothes back on. I don't understand. I literally don't understand what the point of this is. It's like to show, like, they're fat and they're stumbling around or whatever, and honestly, the Pez shirt's kind of a vibe. Some Pez are really cool. The Pez dispensers, I don't even like the candy. The dispensers look pretty cool, though. But anyways, point being made, when it comes to, like, and then all of a sudden you, like, are, like, walking cool and stuff, I just don't get it. I think it's kind of cringe. The biggest thing that's cringe about this is the fact that you're in a fucking, like, what, a superstore? A Walmart? Where are you? The cringiest thing about this is you're doing it in a supermarket, and personally, I think that filming in supermarkets or, Walmart or Costco or anything, I feel like that's super cringe. Does anybody else feel the same way? Because whether it's a prank video, a video of you walking down the aisle trying to look hot or whatever, because you're in a freaking market, dude. People are just trying to buy their groceries. I don't know. That's my opinion, though.
you ever take a recommended prescription that only has a 2 to 5% success rate?
Well, I guess it depends. Are there other recommendations that could be made with better success rates?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Then no. That is a horribly low success rate. Why would anyone ever try that?
Because it's one of the main recommendations that doctors give to their patients for just about any symptom of illness.
That does not seem like a responsible thing to prescribe. Oh, it's not. So, what is it exactly?
Intentional weight loss. And we're talking a blanket recommendation of, have you considered losing weight? Oh? Yeah. It's impossible for 95 to 97% of the population to lose weight intentionally. That has been proven study after study for over half a century. So given that information...
I love how they just cut him off right there. That's not accurate. None of that is accurate. Maybe super restrictive diets like yo-yo diets, fad diets, things like that. Sure, a lot of the time the weight loss isn't going to stick because you're not making a healthy lifestyle change. But if you want to healthily lose weight, intentionally, through adopting a healthy diet, the rates of success will be significant, especially if you adopt a lifestyle change and stick with it. The fact that this person here is saying 95 to 97% of diets always fail, if they're intentional or intentional weight loss plans fail, it's just not true. And I don't know why, but every time I hear these people talking, they always throw a new number out. They're like, 90% of diets fail, 94%, 95%, now we're at 97%. It just doesn't make any sense. They're just throwing things out here to appeal to futility. There are better options than a yo-yo diet or a fad diet. One being intentional weight loss through a healthy lifestyle change that will obviously make you lose weight. It's that simple. When you have people saying, intentional weight loss fails, it's just not true. It's up to you to choose or not choose whether the diet works or it doesn't by adopting a healthy change and actually sticking to it. It is not that deep. And this just creates more ridiculousness for the equation. It just doesn't work. It's so stupid.
I don't like breakfast food, so I just skip breakfast and wait till lunch. That's impossible. If anything, you skip lunch. No, I don't think you understand. I literally don't eat until 2 p.m. No, literally, breakfast is just break fast. It's the first time you eat in the day. It doesn't matter when or what you're eating, it's still breakfast because you are breaking your fast. Oh, so I don't have to eat cereal for breakfast then. Yeah, so if you want to have pizza for breakfast, have pizza for breakfast. It counts, I promise.
What semantics have we let ourselves into today? What does this mean? And also, why are we trying to go if you want to eat pizza for breakfast, oh, breakfast just means break fast. What are you talking about? Yeah, breakfast technically is just the first meal of the day. If you operate on a social basis, technically lunch is past noon usually. So if you wanted to appeal to that, you can be like, oh, well, I'm going out to lunch, so I'm going to skip breakfast because I'm going out to lunch with my friends. Or you can say breakfast categorically is considered the first meal of the day. So whenever I eat my first meal of the day, it's considered breakfast, even if it's at 10 o'clock at night. But it's stupid. These are just semantics. This kind of video is the kind of video that I would hear somebody using to justify why they're eating a pizza at 8 o'clock in the morning and somehow justifying that. It just sounds ridiculous. You can eat whenever you want. You literally can. You don't have to worry about eating at 2 p.m. or 8 p.m. or 8 in the morning or whatever. I encourage people dealing with binge eating, morbid obesity, or just want to live a healthy lifestyle to eat a breakfast just because it might make you less hungry later on in the day. It might make you binge less. But also, if you don't want to eat breakfast, there are days where I don't eat breakfast. I'll wait until 2 o'clock. Doesn't matter. There are some days where I'm hungry and I'll eat before I work out. There are some days where I'm not hungry and I won't eat until after I work out. Maybe some days I'll want to eat at 5 o'clock at night, but then I'll find myself having dinner at midnight. It really doesn't matter. As long as you endeavor to eat healthy foods and are physically active, those are the main things that are a big deal. Eating frequency isn't as important as the types of foods you're eating in that frequency. So I would recommend just aiming to eat healthy food in general and not worrying about the times. But one thing I have to point out is if you're not used to eating properly, or, you're obese, or maybe you have not the ability to eat intuitively because your hunger signals are all screwed up, whether you're underweight or you're overweight, I recommend that you do stick to an eating plan. That way your body can learn that consistency. So you eat breakfast, you eat lunch, you eat dinner, you have some set snacks in between, maybe you have a late night snack or whatever, and you slowly work into that level of intuition. A lot of the time, people do not do well with choosing to eat at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and then 8 o'clock in the morning and then whatever, and eat intuitively. A lot of people do not do well eating intuitively. So I don't really recommend people do it if they're already obese or they're coming from an eating disorder or something, because it's just going to create a level of anxiety, inconsistency, and typical over or under eating, and that's not good for the individual. I think it's dependent on the person, and if you can eat intuitively, then just eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full and eat healthy foods. But a lot of the time, from what I've seen, people cannot do that, and I think a consistent eating plan does help build that structure. So it's up to the individual. But if you ever struggle with this kind of thing and you need input, try and talk to a dietitian if you can to understand the concept of meal frequency, or just do a little bit of research, see what works for you. Just try and stick to a consistent schedule of eating, whether it's 3 times a day, 6 times a day, whatever, and then try and downscale it or upscale it according to your hunger levels. You know, it'll help build a consistent lifestyle, and then you can choose, oh, it's lunchtime after, you've been in this for a while. Oh, I'm not hungry and it's lunchtime. Maybe I'll wait half an hour, see how I feel. Maybe I'll have a light lunch, maybe I'll have a snack instead, and then I'll just have an early dinner. It's just about making small adjustments so that you can cope in life. It's just about making small adjustments and going with the flow of things so you can operate intuitively. But a lot of the time, if you can't do that, there's nothing wrong with sticking to a consistent meal plan either. I just don't understand what the point of this video is. It's all semantics.
So there's a fair amount of people who've been confused about fat phobia, or saying that there is no fat phobia. And while the people who say fat phobia doesn't exist are clearly trolls, the ones who seem confused, maybe they're trolls, or maybe they're genuinely rather confused. So,
fat phobia, in my opinion, can exist if somebody literally makes fun of you for being fat. I wouldn't say it's fat phobic, it's just basic, bullying, being a dick. The concept of fat phobia is kind of stupid, because it plays on the idea of phobia, a fear of fat. And there are individuals who can also have that perception amongst themselves, and there's nothing that really goes into hurting you, the individual who is also fat, dealing with fat phobia and discrimination. It doesn't affect you. People have the right to fear themselves getting fat, and it has no effect on you, which I think is the big issue that a lot of people have when it comes to fat phobia. A lot of people will think, oh, you think that being fat is bad for you, so that means that you look at me like I'm bad. That's basically the level of logic these people operate on, and that's also really bad. You as the individual have the right to do whatever you want with your body, and a lot of people who are calling other people fat phobic don't have these people calling them ugly for being fat, discriminating against them for being fat, or doing anything like that, or doing anything indecent to the person who is fat. They literally just don't want to be fat themselves, or they don't think it's healthy. That's my opinion. You can deal with fat phobia in places like school. We all have been called fat as kids before by other kids. It sucks. Bullying is a thing that you can deal with, particularly in the schoolyard, because once you become an adult, you can choose to not be bullied or not, and you can choose with who you want to associate with. But when it comes to, getting bullied and stuff for your weight, kids deal with that all the time. So, it sucks. And also in certain industries, it's way more common, like modeling and, dancing, bodybuilding, intensive sport. So it is a thing. It does exist. I just think that it's way overblown, and people weaponize it way too commonly in the fat acceptance and body positivity communities.
with that in mind, what is fat phobia? Well, fat phobia, similar to the word homophobia, is not about fear. It is about bias or discrimination against the target. In this case, fat phobia is discrimination or bias against fat people because they are fat. And I only brought up homophobia because it's similar usage of that word, of phobia as part of that word. That's what it means. It's discrimination and bias against fat people for being fat.
I can appreciate this person is trying to preface, I'm not trying to weaponize homophobia and treat it like it's the same as fat phobia. I'm just trying to make an example out of the similarities with there being bias or discrimination. I just think that we can't even really compare the two. One is a controllable variable. Your body weight is controllable. You can't control your sexuality. You can't control if you're gay or if you're straight or if you're, bisexual or anything like that. You can't control that. And that's why I think there's also a big line drawn in the sand right there. Not trying to put words into this person's mouth, but I am saying there is a big difference between homophobia and fat phobia, which is also incredibly subjective, by the way. I've heard people weaponize fat phobia in all regards. Homophobia, we have a little bit more slightly more distinctive reasoning behind what would be considered homophobic. But the other thing is, you can't control your sexuality, and I don't think a lot of people are willing to discriminate on somebody for their sexuality. But when it comes to being fat, you control whether you're fat or not. It is your choice as the individual to put the fork in your mouth. So I'm just saying, it is up to you in that regard. That's one thing, but you choose to live in that fat body.
If you can't figure out why a fat suit is fatphobic, really?
Fat suit isn't fat phobic. A fat suit is literally just a fat suit. And I think that this person might be referring to, like, in movies and stuff, when actors are wearing fat suits to kind of play a role. They think that it, like, takes away... I could be wrong about this. It could be a completely different interpretation from what this person's talking about. But with a fat suit, maybe a fit actor is going to put on a fat suit to just be able to play a fat role and then take it off at the end of the day. And that is fatphobic because it plays on the biases of fat people, when in reality, they're just playing a role. Imagine this. Imagine being an actor. You have 12 to 16-hour work days. You really don't have time to worry about dieting and then all of a sudden gaining 50 pounds and losing 50 pounds for a role, when you also have to do this role that requires you to be this body weight, and you also have to have shredded abs and do this thing for this role. Like, it's just not accurate. You can't really do it. You can't gain and lose, like, hundreds of pounds or 50 pounds or whatever in the span of a few days to weeks. So a lot of the time, they're going to give you a fat suit, you just rock it, you wear it, you take it off. It's a lot of work still. I mean, you got to get into makeup, you got to do that for hours. You have to do a lot of stuff to fit into that role, fit into that suit, and that doesn't even count the acting. So I get the idea here, but it's not fat-phobic to be putting on a suit that makes you look fat. It's fat-phobic if you discriminate against somebody for being fat. That's literally what it is. So I'm saying, my people, I think it's hella petty, and I don't think it makes any sense, and I think you can wear a fat suit without discriminating against fat people. That's just my opinion. But it's a stupid opinion to oppose. So anyways, that's my opinion. So anyways, my people, that's the video. Tell me what you think in the comments below, and I will see you next time. What do you think about fat suits? Anyways, yeah, but that's it. So tell me what you think, and I will see you next time. Slater.